They said she matched the description. Funny how description always means black, alone, and too calm for their comfort. And on that warm Sunday morning, just steps from her church, Margaret Coleman, Buck 62, found out that dignity still gets you choked in broad daylight. She wasn't in a rush. She never was. Every year on her anniversary, Margaret went to that same little Baptist church, sat in the third pew, lit a candle, and walked home with a bouquet of lilies and a heart full of quiet. No husband this time. Judge Lionel Coleman was in Duchenne for a hearing, but she kept the ritual. Some things are for the soul, not the calendar. The hem of her navy dress swayed gently with each step, her brooch glinting just under her collarbone like a silent witness. The air smelled like spring and old stories. And just 2 blocks from home, right as she passed the rusted iron fence, the air changed. You know that feeling. Like when someone stares long enough to chill your spine. A police cruiser sat across the street, angled like it had nowhere to be except right there, watching her. No siren, no announcement, just presence. Inside, a white cop in his late 30s stared with the kind of stillness that had weight. Like he was waiting for something to go wrong so he could be the reason it did. Margaret had seen it before in grocery store parking lots, post offices, even at school board meetings where she once served with distinction. Stillness that isn't peace. It's permission. And it always starts the same way. He stepped out of the cruiser, not rushed, not urgent, just enough to make a point. "Ma'am," he called, sharp and practiced. She turned, calm as stone. "Yes, officer." Now he was close. Too close. Eyes bouncing between her Bible, the lilies, and the silver dove pin. He asked her name. She gave it. Margaret Coleman. Didn't flinch, didn't smile. Didn't apologize for existing. "I need you to stop walking and show ID," he snapped. She tilted her head just a bit. "Have I broken any law?" That's when his jaw clenched. That's when his eyes shifted. That's when he decided this was going to go a different way. He muttered something about a call suspicious woman casing homes. Yeah, sure. Suspicious, like walking home in sunlight holding church lilies. Margaret didn't argue, didn't plead. She just stood still and said, "I know exactly who I am." And that those 10 words did something to him. He lunged, grabbed her arm. The lilies hit the ground like fallen truth. And in one brutal move, he slammed her against the brick wall, forearm pressed to her throat. Her breath caught, but not from fear. From disbelief. She didn't scream. She didn't cry. She just looked him dead in the eye and whispered, "You don't get to do this." People across the street started yelling. A woman's voice cracked the silence. "Get your hands off her!" Phones came out, cameras clicked, but he didn't stop. And then, the courthouse doors opened. No, not literally, but what happened next felt like judgment stepped into daylight. A man in a gray suit walked up tall, steady, shoulders like anchors. Didn't run, didn't shout, just walked straight up and said, "Step away from my wife." The crowd hushed. Phones froze in midair. Officer Doyle, yeah. Now he had a name looked up like he'd seen a ghost with a bar license. Because Judge Lionel Coleman wasn't just a name on a bench. He was the federal judge whose rulings had overturned 2 wrongful convictions last year. One of them involved excessive force from the same precinct. Margaret didn't need to say a word. Lionel said it for her. You didn't ask questions. You made assumptions. You didn't de-escalate. You escalated. And for what? A black woman walking with her head too high, the officer stammered. The sergeant arrived, black, female, quiet authority in her eyes. She asked the question that should have been asked 15 minutes earlier. Did you see her commit a crime? Doyle couldn't answer. Not really. And then, Margaret spoke. He didn't see me at all. Just the version of me he needed to justify this. Yeah, that line shut the block up. Even the wind paused. They didn't arrest him, not yet. But Lionel demanded badge and name on the spot. And the sergeant made sure that request was noted. Later that night, Margaret sat on their porch, rocking slowly, bruises blooming under her sleeve like stories untold. Lionel was pacing, talking to journalists, colleagues, advocacy groups. But when he stopped, looked at her, and said, "They want a statement in the morning." She didn't even blink. Then, let's give them one, not to defend ourselves, but to declare what comes next. And they did. Together. 3 weeks later, Margaret testified in open court, eyes never wavering, voice calm as fire. "I wasn't attacked for what I did. I was attacked for what he saw when he looked at me." The city heard her, loud and clear. Police reform panels were launched. A civilian review board gained teeth. And at the very spot where Doyle choked her, someone placed fresh lilies every week, without fail. Funny thing about power, it always thinks silence means consent. Until silence starts speaking through the people it tried to crush. And now, here's the part where I turn it to you. What would you have done in Lionel's place? What would you say if it were your mother, your wife, your neighbor? Drop a comment. Was justice served, or did it just get started? Let's talk about what accountability should look like and who gets to define it.